Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm MrTieDye, and today I'm back doing another comparison video. So this time what I'm going to do is a rainbow spiral with black lines through it, and I have my preference on how I like to do it, but there's no one right way to do it. It just depends on the look that you're going for. So I'm going to demo a few different methods here. So I have a t-shirt here that's been pre-washed in hot water, and then I soaked it in soda ash, spun it out, so now it's just barely damp. I do my spin out in the washer. If you don't have that, you can just wring out by hand, but one way or another, I like to bring my t-shirt to a point where it's just kind of barely damp. I can touch it and it feels mostly dry, but when I touch my fingers, they feel just a little bit wet. So anyway, so we're going to start out by spiraling this t-shirt. Tie it up with kite string. You could also use rubber bands or whatever other method that you like to use to tie your shirts up with. My preference just happens to be kite string. And I do have a video that shows how I use kite string and sinew, and I usually try to have that in the description box down below. So if you're needing to practice up on your kite string, you can check out that video, or even if you need to practice your sinew tying. There is my spiral tee, and like I say, I'm going to do a comparison on these. So I have 3 other tees to dye here. They're all different sizes, that way I can keep track of what I did on each one, because I know I've tried to do a comparison in the past and lost track of which was which. So I've got a medium, a large, a women's extra large, and a 4X in here. So we're going to dye them one by one, and I'm going to show you the results at the end. Let me get some gloves on, and we're going to start pouring through these. So hold on. Okay, we're back. Got gloves on. It's time to get started. So I got my rainbow colors laid out here. I have fire red. I have orange that I kind of mixed up myself because I was running low and I didn't want to try to make up one color of dye. Actually, I guess 2, because I mixed my blue also. Lemon yellow, emerald green, then I have a mix of blue that has, I think, some bluebird, some turquoise, and I think maybe a little bit of cerulean blue. The leftover blues, I poured them together. And then I got deep purple, and then I have my black mix. So I'm going to dye all of the tees with those same colors, but I'm going to dye them in different fashions. This first one, I'm going to dye the top in the rainbow colors, and then I'm putting the black on the bottom of this. So we're going to go in the fast forward mode. When I do the rainbow spiral with the black lines, most times I will dye one side with the colors, and I like to do it until I can see a little bit of them kind of poking through to the other side. And then I take my black mix and I just lightly coat the whole thing. I'm not trying to saturate it heavy, and this way sometimes you'll get just a little bit of a white line around your black. But if you want no white in there, then you'll need to saturate this a little bit more, and it'll just take some practice figuring out exactly how much dye to put on so that they just kind of come together and meet in the middle. But this here is one of the ways, and you'll see the results of this in about 2 seconds. But I'm going to let this batch for 48 hours. I'm going to batch it. I usually wait until I can see all the black soaked down in, and then I'll flip it over and I'm going to batch it with the black side down, just so that the black doesn't seep into my colors. That's not a bad thing, but on this one I don't want it that way. So I'm going to flip this one back over, and I'll batch it like this for 48 hours. And then you'll see the results in about 2 seconds. Good afternoon, and welcome to Hippie Christmas with MrTieDye. nice. Got just a little bit of white showing through, but pretty much that black. I got the layer of black in there really nice. So I really like how that one looks. So let's get this washed up and you'll see the finished results in about 2 seconds. Okay, we're back for shirt number 2. This one here, I'm going to dye the top and the bottom the same in the rainbow colors, and then I'm going to use thick black dye. So let's go into fast forward mode. I've dyed this top and bottom with the same colors. I'm going to let this sit for just a few minutes. I want all of the dyes to kind of soak in so that the surface level looks kind of dry. So I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes and then I'll come back to this one. Okay, we're back. It's been about 10 minutes. Like I say, I like to let the dye soak in. That's just my own personal preference. You can try putting the dyes on and then just go right to painting. But I like to do it the ways that I've done it in the past. And the next thing I'm going to do is sandwich it in between a couple rags. I just really want to make sure that that top layer is dry, because on this one here I am trying to not have the black mix too much with the colors. Then next couple t-shirts I don't care about the mixing, so but for this one we're going to do it this way. Once again, just my choice, just to show you how things come out when you dye them in different fashions. So I just am lightly pressing on this just to try to soak up the top layers of the dye there. And then we will take these rags all the way out. Okay, now time to paint. Oh, that's the tag. I thought that was a white spot. So what I have is some thick black dye here. And if you don't have thick black dye and you don't want to make thick black dye, don't worry about it. I'm going to show 2 more with just regular black dye. So this here is just one of the options. The way I usually do it is I just kind of squirt some on my table. There's no sense in getting a little container out that I have to wash. So I just dab some up on my brush here, and then I kind of move it around just so it's thinned out. I don't want to put a big glob on. And then I just go ahead and just paint over the whole thing. And I do the same thing top and bottom. Once again, that's my own personal preference. You can just paint just one side. And if you are going to paint just one side, I recommend painting the side that was down to start with, because that's nice and flat. This one here is a little bit trickier. You have to kind of poke and prod it a little bit to get the dye to go into the various creases, depending on how well you smooth them out. So what I'll do is kind of grab the kite string and move it out of the way so that I can get in there with my brush and get a nice coat on. And as I need more thick black dye, I just add it. And if you need to make thick black dye, you don't know how, I will put a link to the video where I show how to make the thick black dye. I use sodium alginate, and I've used some from Dharma, and I've used some from Amazon. So you can find one of those 2 recipes and make you some thick black dye if you like. It does come in handy for some of my projects that I've done. Alright, I think that side's good. This side, like I say, goes faster just because it's nice and flat. Oh, and be careful as you do run the brush back and forth. You're going over top of the kite string or rubber bands. And if you do that too quickly, you can catch some of this and have little bits of this dye spray off. And I mean, I can see them hitting around on the table here, but the faster you do it, the further they fly. So just be aware of that. Okay, I think I have this about coated the way that I want it. And then once again, this one here will be batched for 48 hours along with the other one. I'm trying to get all of these dyed fairly quickly so that they all are batching for about the same length of time. But after each one, I will do the washout and show you, so you'll see the results of this tea in about 2 seconds. Thank you for watching. Oh, and if you guys haven't subscribed, please click on that, and if you hit the notifications, then you'll get notified whenever I have a new video coming up, which they're not very often, but if you have a bell clicked, you'll get notified. Thank you. Alright, just a little reminder, this is the one that we dyed the rainbow, the top and the bottom, and then I thickened the black dye and painted it on the top bottom. So I just did the top and the bottom the same with the rainbow and with the black, thick black. So let's open this up and see what we have here. Yeah, so there's another nice one here. This here adds in more black lines. Some of them are thicker and thinner than others, but that's just another look that you get from doing the rainbow with the black lines. So we'll get this rinsed up. You'll see the final results in about 2. Okay, here's another way of doing it. This one here, I'm going to dye it the same way on the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to put liquid, the regular black dye, over the top and the bottom of this. So alright. Okay, so I got things off track here. I counted too many spaces there. My yellow belongs here, not there. But luckily I know that yellow and blue make green, so that could be my green space. So this is going to be my yellow space. And then this here is my blue space up here. So normally I would color that blue, but since this one here I accidentally dyed yellow, this is my green. We're just going to pour some blue in there and see what shade of green that gives us. Because like I say, this here is a blue mix. It's got turquoise, and it's got cobalt, or not cobalt, bluebird, and cerulean blue in it. So we'll see what, looks like it'll be a dark shade. Maybe we'll lighten it up just a little bit with another touch of yellow on top. And on the bottom side, we'll do the regular green, so we'll get it mixed. Oops, looks like I got some color in my beard. Alright. Let's continue on here. So next is our orange. This time I'm putting regular black dye on the top and the bottom. But like I say, it can get kind of sloppy when you're adding extra dye on top. So what I'm going to do is put it in the bin, bring it over here. That way any of the excess dyes that drip out is dripping down into the tub. So let's wipe this up. Okay, so the other one's just my other two teas that I dyed. We're doing these all at the same time. Let me wipe that up some. Okay, this time I'm using just regular black dye. I dyed this here. I didn't leave it sit to drain out, soak in, or anything like I did with the thick black dye. This one here, I'm putting the straight dye on top of the straight dye, and the extra liquid in there is going to help hold those rainbow colors in the middle. So the black dye is going to mix with the top layer on here and on the other side, but in the middle it's going to squeeze those rainbow colors in, and we're going to leave some black color or some bright colors in the middle. Of course, you won't see that until we do the washout. Right now it just looks like a mess. So I'm just going to coat the whole thing. Okay, so there's the other one, and I'm just going to leave it sit just right there. Well, I might scoot it over just a little bit because we have one more tea to go on this corner here. Alright, here we are. This one I dyed in the rainbow top and bottom, and then I used regular black dye, not thick, just regular black dye, and I squirted it on over the top and the bottom, just a light coat, but it fully well saturated. I like this one here because it just gives us a darker impression, but you still have some of the rainbow that shines through. So let's take a look at some of that rainbow that's in there still. Yeah. And even more of the rainbow will show up when we wash this. But this here gives us mostly a black tea then with some of the bright color. So it really just depends on how you want your rainbow with the black lines to look as to what method you use. And I got one more here that I just did something extra fun, play with it a little bit, give it a little bit extra detail, so stay tuned. You'll see this one in about 2 seconds. Okay, we got one more tea, and this one here I'm going to do a little differently just because I like to play with things, and I've done this in the past, but we're going to do rainbow color on one side and then black on the other, but instead of just straight black, I'm going to put down some bright green first, and then I'm going to put black. Like I say, I like to mix things up, so this was just something that I had done years ago, tried it just to see what would happen, and I kind of like the results. So what this does is give a little bit of a black, a green edge to the black lines that go through. If you leave a lot of white space in there, then the black lines are highlighted by the white. But you can use really any color. I just find that a lighter, brighter color stands out more. So that's what we're going to do. I dye one side rainbow, and then I just put a light coat of the green on the whole back side. That's perfect. Okay, next, right after I do that, like I say, I like to have the t-shirt in this instance be wet, just because it's going to help make sure that the black dye doesn't soak in too far. On the one that I did the thick black dye and I sandwiched it and took some of the moisture out, it was because I was doing the thick black dye and the moisture would cause it to soak in further. So I didn't want that. But in this case, the moisture is holding the black dye from soaking in too deep. So I know some of the things are confusing. Sometimes you just got to trust it and try it, and that's what I've done a lot of times. So here we go. We're just going to do the same thing, coat the whole black side with black now. That is ready to go. I'm going to flip this over and batch it with the black side down. In fact, I'll flip it over right now. So I'm going to batch it just like this here with the rest of the teas for 48 hours. But you will see each, well, you would have already seen the other teas. You'll see this one in about 2 seconds. Thank you for hanging out. We'll talk to you later. Okay, here's one more I did just for fun, just to show some of my experiments. This one here I did rainbow color on the one side, and then on the back side I dyed it in bright green to start with, and then I coated it with the black. So just like to have fun and see what happens when you experiment like that. So let's open this up and see what we got in here. Yeah, so that black is highlighted by the bright green, and once we wash this, I think that bright green is going to be even brighter. So but the black and the green go all the way through there. So just something fun to play, do something different. You'll see the results here in about 2 seconds. Peace, love, and light to all. Let's send some love and light and energy out and around the world, especially over to Afghanistan, because things are just kind of popping loose and crazy over there, and we just need love and light and support for all involved. Thank you. Peace.